He began to run in the downward wash of air from the vanes, but it was no use. There were 3 men and they were fresh and he wasn't. He stopped, dropping into the fighter's crouch that's preset into the human body, ready to do battle. The men didn't want to fight. They laughed, and one of them said amiably,
"Long past your bedtime, boy. Get in, we'll take you home."
Tropal stood poised, hands half clenched.
Take you home, yeah. Where you belong, Tropile. Not back to Wheeling, if that's what's worrying you.
Where
you belong.
Then Tropile understood. He got into the helicopter wonderingly. Home. So there was a home for such as he. He wasn't alone. He needn't keep his solitary self apart. He could be with his own kind. He remembered Gala Tropile and paused. One of the men said with quick understanding,
"Your wife? I think we saw her about half a mile from here, heading back to Wheeling as fast as she could go."
Tropile nodded. That was better, after all. Gala was no wolf, though he had tried his best to make her one. One of the men closed the door, another did something with levers and wheels. The vanes whooshed around overhead. The helicopter bounced on its stiff-sprung landing legs and then rocked up and away. For the first time in his life, Glenn Tropile looked down on the land. They didn't fly high, but Glenn Tropile had never flown at all, and the 200 or 300 feet of air beneath made him faint and queasy. They danced through the passes in the West Virginia hills, crossed icy streams and rivers, swung past old empty towns which no longer even had names of their own. They saw no one. It was something over 400 miles to where they were going, one of the men told him. They made it easily before dark. As Tropile walked through the town in the evening light, electricity flared white and violet in the buildings around him. Imagine! Electricity was calories, and calories were to be hoarded. There were other walkers in the street. Their gait was not the economical shuffle with pendant arms. They burned energy visibly. They swung. They strode. It had been chiselled on his brain in the earliest childhood that such walking was wrong, reprehensible, debilitating. It wasted calories. These people did not look debilitated, and they didn't seem to mind wasting calories. It was an ordinary sort of town, apparently named Princeton. It did not have the transient look to it of, say, Wheeling or Altoona or Gary, in Tropile's experience. It looked like, well, it looked permanent. Tropile had heard of a town called Princeton, but it had happened that he had never passed through it, southwarding or northbound. There was no reason why he or anybody should or should not have. Still, there was a possibility, once he thought of it, that things were somehow so arranged that they should not. Maybe it was all on purpose. Like every town, it was underpopulated, but not so much so as most. Perhaps 1 living space in 5 was used. A high ratio. The man beside him was named Handel, one of the men from the helicopter. They hadn't talked much on the flight, and they didn't talk much now.
"Eat first,"
Handel said, and took Tropile to a bright and busy sort of food stall. Only it wasn't a stall. It was a restaurant. This Handel, what to make of him? He should have been disgusting, nasty, an abomination. He had no manners whatever. He didn't know, or at least didn't use, the 17 conventional gestures. He wouldn't let Tropile walk behind him and to his left, though he was easily 5 years Tropile's senior. When he ate, he ate. The sip of appreciation, the pause of first surfeit, the thrice proffered share meant nothing to him. He laughed when Tropile tried to give him the elder's portion. Cheerfully patronising this man, Handel said to Tropile,
"That stuff's all right when you don't have anything better to do with your time. Those poor mutts don't. They die of boredom without their inky-pinky colts, and they don't have the resources to do anything bigger. Yes, I do know the gestures, 17 delicate ways of communicating emotions too refined for words. To hell with them, Tropile. I've got words. You'll learn them too."
Tropile ate silently, trying to think. A man arrived and threw himself in a chair, glanced curiously at Tropile and said, "Handel, the Somerville Road, the creek backed up when it froze. Flooded bad, ruined everything." Tropile ventured.
"The flood ruined the road?"
"The road? No. Say, you must be the fellow Handel went after. Tropile, that the name?" He leaned across the table, pumped Tropile's hand. "We had the road nicely blocked," he explained. "The flood washed it clean.